Hello, back on track with Borderline. And there won't be a rant this week. Last episode, I had a good old go at myself for some of the lines in the lyrics. A little bit of an overreaction, I think. I was annoyed at the time, but I've certainly mellowed. I am in the process of rewriting the lyrics at the moment. We've just not had an opportunity to sing them. We've both been really busy this week. But I have been working on the music. So even though the words, the lyrics are identical, I've made no changes to the vocals at all. There's been a lot of development on the guitar front. As things stand at the moment, there are no synths on this song, and it's entirely possible that I'll get right to the end of the process and not actually put any synths on. I haven't made my mind up, but at least I'm open to the possibility. I'm going to play you what we've got, and then we'll come back and have a chat. So I'm also a King Crimson fan. That's just like, it's kind of a merging of discipline and frame by frame, or at least the sentiment is. I love those quite clinically arpeggiated guitar lines that it's predominantly a Robert Fripp thing, but Adrian Bellew certainly has a big hand to play in the sound on that album. And there's 3 great albums from King Crimson in the 80s, Discipline, Beat and Three of a Perfect Pair, and they're absolutely stunning, just completely stunning pieces of music. I love that style. I love the Gilmour languid, long-held note thing, and I see absolutely no reason why I can't get the two to go together. Now, the solo as it stands, in the previous video I talked about it being too sparse. I've left it completely alone and put this guitar work behind it, and I really, really like it. I think it works. So it's really abstract. One of them is completely consistent. That does that all the time, unchanging. The other one is variant. I like that. I've not quantized it at all. That's completely as played. I might try quantizing it and see if I can really, really tighten it up. But I kind of like the fact that it's played organically. So very, very happy with that idea. I think that's great. The structure I haven't messed with at all yet, in terms of whether or not this is the final layout of the song. It probably is at this point. With the holistic approach that I try to adopt in all of my music these days, but I'm very deliberately doing it with this song in terms of playing the entire thing and trying to figure out how all the pieces go together. It means that everything evolves consistently and there are no waterfalls off a cliff. But it also means that everything does this. And so it becomes increasingly difficult to pick an entire section up and move it somewhere else. If I was using the waterfall approach and developing 4 bars at a time and then moving on, I would be able to pick up that entire section and move it somewhere else. But then I would have the problem of when I came to the new section of music, having this 17 different things all stopping suddenly and figuring out where to go next. I do need to do a video on those 2 approaches to songwriting. I think it's a fascinating subject and something that I spend an awful lot of time thinking about. So you can tell that this is very much an organic piece where one part attempts to segue smoothly into the next. In the middle section, we've got this other new guitar part that is my favourite thing in the song so far. This guitar line underneath the melody, I'm really, really happy with it. It's really, really simple, but it harmonises really well with the bass and the other guitar parts. So I'm trying to generate that kind of ethereal thing. So the stuff that I've done this week has made me pretty happy. No real blind alleys to speak of. The main issue that I have is that because the entire thing is just me playing the guitar and predominantly one sound, with the exception of the solos, it's all this slightly phase-laden, clean guitar sound, the electric guitar sound, all comes from the GT100 down here. It means the frequency range is a little bit cluttered, and when I come to mix, I've tried to keep everything central. I think all of these tracks are still central. Occasionally I do a little bit of panning, you can see a tiny artifact left behind there, but for the most, yeah, everything is actually still completely central. So you're listening to mono, with the exception that the guitars are recorded in stereo, so it's a little bit of stereo there, but it is flat and dull. The song sounds dull. I was listening to some film soundtrack music last night. It's just a obsession of mine at the moment, kind of trawling through film music and finding good bits. And after doing that for a while, I was listening to some like Hans Zimmer Gladiator stuff, and then came and listened to my song. It just sounded so terrible. It's just utterly flat, like absolutely flaccid. So it's just like, yeah, okay, right. There is a lot of work to be done, but that's all later. I'm not so worried about that. But at this stage of the development of the song, as it's kind of starting to feel approaching finished, even though the lyrics need to be completely rebuilt, I haven't put any harmonies on there, there's still a lot of work to be done, but structurally it's really sound. I do need to start thinking about tidying some of this stuff up now and getting the guitars sounding really how I want them. Maybe split the drums out onto separate tracks so I've got more mixing control of them, and start doing the step by step as we go mixing process rather than leaving it all to the end. See, I'm an inspiration led musician. If I hear something that sounds really good, then I tend to play better over the top of it. Whereas if everything's a little bit disjointed and kind of out, in fact this song started out this way, with everything just kind of meandering in its own direction, and I just couldn't get a foothold. And once I started tightening up and making things comply and sound good in their own right, then I just feel more inspired to put stuff on top. So I wanted to share this progress with you this week. This is just musical, no change to structure, no change to lyrics, but really big advances in terms of creating a song. I'm finally starting to like this piece of music that has been struggling with me for so long that I was getting a little bit annoyed with it, and I think we've turned a corner. We're friends now. So hopefully, and we're going to get the vocals recorded tonight, depending on circumstances, whether or not we can set a couple of hours aside. If I can do that and get the vocals processed for next week, then I'll be really excited, really happy. Hope you'll join me then. If you subscribe and hit notifications, you'll get advised when that next episode comes out. Hope to see you then. Thanks very much.